Hey everyone, JagTagger93 here, and today I'll be talking about my experience playing Lunaran's Copper mod for Quake, along with a map pack he co-authored with Scampie called Underdark Overbright, which was created to really show off the purpose of the mod. So when I play Doom or Quake, I usually like to keep it very basic. You see, I play these games out of nostalgia, and while I enjoy a slight bit of polish here and there, I still want to play the games as much as possible in the fashion that I did back when I was younger in the 90s. Now, the Copper mod caught my eye for not promising a new HD Quake or anything like that, but rather being aimed at high-level skill-based gameplay that stays true to the game's original intended roots. The game, with the Copper mod, looks about the same on the surface, but there are a number of tweaks to the items, weapons, and enemies here. One tweak I greatly appreciate is that the Vor's projectiles now are launched with some momentum, acting more like Revenant rockets from Doom. This means since the projectiles are launched with velocity and momentum, they no longer turn on a dime at 90-degree angles, which makes evading behind cover and avoiding them much easier. Granted, it also makes it a little trickier to maybe kite them into enemies, but that's a trade-off I'm willing to make. I'm also grateful for spawns that actually now will lose sight of the player, and when they do, there's a chance they'll actually chill out and stop bouncing all over the place. That is a huge change to the original experience. Originally, there was this thing where you found a spawn, congratulations, it'll just keep bouncing and bouncing and chase you down. Here you can actually evade them, get a chance to regroup, and re-engage them afresh, which is pretty nice. Now, what isn't so nice with the Copper mod are some of the other enemy tweaks here. Now, I'll admit, I totally get why Lunaran made these tweaks, and it was to limit degenerate gameplay and keep the game closer to its original intent and its design. But yeah, I gotta admit, these bugs that I've been exploited for a long time are things I'm really used to. Things like indefinite monster infighting with zombies. You see, one thing I often do when there's an area with zombies, I might keep some of them alive. Now see, the zombies don't die from conventional means. You can jib them, and that'll do away with them, but if you were just to down them with normal gunfire, they don't die. And same with enemies. If an enemy engages them, for example an ogre, and the ogre is, it'll go up to it and start swinging at it with its chainsaw, the zombie will never ever die. Eventually what will happen is the ogre will be engaged with the zombie for a long time, and eventually the ogre will be toast. And that's true of pretty much any other enemy in the game, be it an ogre, vor, or Sham Blur. And that is something I exploited a lot, but here, it's no longer possible. Also in vanilla Quake, if an ogre on a ledge tags an enemy with a grenade, that enemy will be provoked. And that provoked enemy will try to get at the ogre, even if it can't, because the ogre, like I said, is on a ledge up higher than where it is. So what ends up happening is that the enemy just kind of runs in place awkwardly in the direction of the ogre, but never actually gets to it, which means I'm able to just run right by this enemy and not be bothered by it. Again, this exploit has also been fixed here in the Copper mod. Lastly, the Sham Blur hokey pokey, as I call it, or the Chambord Dance, has been tweaked a little bit. It's still here, but it's kind of fixed. So what I mean by that is in Quake, without the Copper mod, the Sham Blur has two attacks which usually occur according to where you're standing. If you're some distance away, the Sham Blur fires a very devastating blast of lightning right at you and right through you. And if you're right in front of it, it will try to swipe at you as a melee attack. Now the hokey pokey tactic, as I call it, or the Chambord Dance, is to get right up to the Sham Blur to trigger its melee attack. As it goes to swipe, step away while you're firing, and just repeat this process until it dies. Hopefully it doesn't shoot you with lightning. However, in the Copper mod, the more times the Sham Blur melee attacks, the more likely it'll follow up with a lightning blast regardless of where you're standing, so killing it quick is really the best course of action here. Overall, I'm very happy with the Copper mod. The mod itself builds upon the original vanilla experience of Quake. Yeah, some tweaks are made, but there's a delicate balance here. And for a full list of all the features with the Copper mod, link in the description, and you can see what it's about there. Now, as a mod, I rate this one very highly, and it came out with a map pack by Scampie and the mod author, Lunaran, to really show off the features of it. Originally, I was a bit skeptical with the map pack. I thought it would just be a way to just show all the features of the Copper mod and just be that, almost like a tech showcase where it was very much shoehorned in, all these different features and encounters enforced. No, it actually does feel like a additional episode for Quake, actually. It is very well done. It really delivers on some very fast-paced gameplay. and probably the fastest paced gameplay I've seen in Quake for some time. The maps are all fairly good aesthetically, but they're very tight in their pacing and progression, and especially item placement, which is fantastically well done. And also does a great job with teasing the player with some good psychology and rewarding map exploration. There's also a few very surprising set pieces and moments that really took me by, well, surprise, and kept me from relaxing and really kept me on my toes. There are plenty of vores and spawns in these maps, but because of the copper mod, they actually add to the experience and never feel unfairly placed at all, despite their numbers. So overall, the map pack is very good, and with copper, it's outstanding. My only real complaints is that not all the maps here feel equal. The most memorable ones for me were map 2, which was the underwater section, which is great at showing off how underwater breathing works with the copper mod, and it does work in a way that does feel pretty organic. Map 3, which is also a very, very tight map. Map 5, which had a few surprises. And my favorite map was actually the hidden map. Well worth discovering it. I love the gothic ambience to it. Definitely download for this map pack, if not for anything else, just for that hidden map. So, as it turns out, I'm actually very happy with how Underdark Overbright turned out to be much more than just a tech demo for the copper mod. The fights are all very engaging, and with the tweaks, I was worried that monster infighting would be a lot harder to pull off, but here it feels a lot more rewarding and actually encouraged in a lot of areas as well too. The experience is one that's very tight. The boss fight itself too against Chthon, or however you pronounce that, but you know what I mean, is something that's very familiar to seasoned players, but again, the copper mod has a few surprises here too with how Chthon operates. Overall, a fantastic experience with this map pack. The map pack I rate a solid 9 out of 10 or 94%. Definitely install it with copper if you have a chance. Now, if you're like me and you use Quake Injector, make sure that the map files are where they're supposed to be. I actually had some issues getting this to run at first because the file had a map folder and then another map folder in that folder. So I just had to copy paste the files to their appropriate locations in the id1 folder, and all was more or less well. I couldn't get the opening map to work, the one with the different skills, but not a huge deal, and it's probably something on my end, and I'll be honest, I'm just too, I don't want to go through the trouble of trying to figure that out. It's probably something very simple, but I'm lazy. But it's a very simple fix, and one that's pretty easy to figure out if you have the same issue, but if you've been installing Quake maps for a while, you know what to do. Big thanks to Lunaran for making this fantastic gameplay mod that really doesn't change anything, and really enhances Quake in its original intent. I'm going to be using copper mod for some time on my upcoming Quake map reviews. Actually, that's how much I enjoy it. Great work, Lunaran, as well too on the map pack as well with Scampie. It was phenomenal. And thank you all for watching. This is JagTagger93 signing out. You have a good one.